Okay, that is us broadcasting live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's IELTS webinar on writing task 2, agree and disagree essays. I'm Jamie, I'm your host. I'm here on behalf of IELTSonlinetest.com, and we're very fortunate to be joined today by Stephen E., our presenter. So, hello, Stephen.
Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar today.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. Stephen is a very experienced IELTS examiner and trainer with over 17 years helping students to improve their IELTS score. So if you please join me in giving a warm welcome to Stephen. Hi there. Great. So welcome, guys. I can see some of you are joining us in the chat. If you've just joined us, please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from. You can speak to us throughout the webinar in the chat. If you change your settings to all panelists and attendees, this will let you speak to everyone as well, so everyone can benefit from your answers. So if you'd like to change your settings to all panelists and attendees, we'll be able to see everything you say. So hello, Caroline, welcome from India, and hello, Bruna from Brazil. Hi there, Huang. Hello, Yon from Colombia, welcome in. Wow, we have a lot of students today, so it's great to see you all here. For those of you who have just joined, I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Jamie. I'm an IELTS teacher and trainer, and I'm here hosting the webinar today on behalf of our website, IELTS Online Tests. And I'm joined by our presenter, an IELTS expert, former examiner and trainer from England, Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Hello everyone. It's like the United Nations today. We've got people from everywhere. It's great.
Excellent. So guys, we will, Stephen will begin his presentation on IELTS writing task 2 very soon. I'd just like to let you know, you can speak to us throughout the presentation using the chat function. You can suggest answers. You can ask questions as well. You can also ask more general questions using the Q&A function, which should be at the bottom of your screen. We will have time to discuss your questions after the presentation, so you can put any questions in there. Just to mention that we now have a new YouTube channel. I'll put the link to that in the chat. You'll be able to see the recordings from this presentation and also our previous webinars. They'll all be available on our YouTube channel. So I'll pop that in the chat in a moment. Wow, from Mount Everest, Nepal, Bidan, welcome in. This is amazing. Hello to Yossi from the UK. Not quite as exotic, but yeah, you're joining us at the same time. So great. Right, we have a great number of people with us. So I think, Stephen, if you're ready to start.
Yeah, no problemo. Okay.
To you. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, I do have my chat box open. So if you do have any specific questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll try to get through the questions as best we can. We do have a lot of students today, which is great, and from lots of different countries. So that's fantastic. So let's begin. So basically, the aims of this seminar is by the end of this, you'll be able to do a number of things. So you'll be able to understand agree and disagree questions. You'll be able to plan your essay using a simple structure. So if you follow this example that we give you today, it will certainly help to improve your writing. And I'm just going to have to click on this again. So you'll be able to use linking expressions to develop your answer and offer an opposing view and a counter argument. So the first thing we really need to do is understand the question. So what is the question actually asking you to do? So you need to understand exactly what the requirements of the task are. So read the question and then identify each part and then underline the key words. Now I'm just going to minimize my face so I can see everything there. I'll just open the chat box again so I can see. So if we look at this question then, what do you think are the key words in the question? Can anyone type in the box and tell me what the key words in this question are? Okay, we've got individuals, yeah. Environment. Government. Do nothing. Ooh, they're coming quick and fast. Okay, good. So let's have a look. So we got individuals, yeah. Can do nothing. Improve the environment. Only governments and large companies make a difference. So what's the last part of the question asking you to do, guys? What's the last part? Yeah. So agree or disagree. So excellent. So you're going to have to decide on your response. So you're going to have to take a position. So I agree because, can anyone give me some ideas of why they would agree? Why would you agree? Okay, small things, expense, okay. Any other reasons? They have money, small effort, okay. Social responsibility, okay. We've got some good answers coming in here. And then, what about disagree? Would anyone disagree? Why would you disagree? Okay, they can affect large companies and governments. Everyone can make a difference. Small actions lead up to a whole. Okay, so some good ideas coming in here, guys. Very good. Okay, so let's have a look. I'll just move my chat box down so I can actually see. So I agree because here's a possible position. A single person is responsible for only a tiny amount of pollution. Okay. And then governments and companies can quickly make huge changes. Obviously, some of you have already mentioned those points. They have the money to be able to do that. Many people acting together, if we disagree, so can have a big impact. So some of you mentioned those points also. And then, oops, individual actions can influence governments and corporations. Okay, so some good points coming in that I'm seeing. So we've identified what the question is asking us to do. So we need to plan our answer. So if we follow this kind of structure that we're going to introduce today, then it certainly will improve your writing. And as we go through, you'll see how clear it is to plan your essay in the way that we're suggesting today. So the first thing you need to do in your introduction is to do what? What do you need to do? Can you just copy the question? Okay, paraphrase. Some of you are ahead of me already. It's great. Okay. And then what's the most important sentence in the introduction? The most important sentence. Yeah, okay, we got that. Mina's got that. Mohammed, yeah. So we need the thesis statement, okay? Now, just to tell you, I mean, I've taught a lot of students, and what I'm seeing a lot of, there's a lot of information on the internet and a lot of bad information, unfortunately. So there's a lot of standard introductions, for example, in this essay, I will discuss blah, 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 and I will give my opinion. You know, that means nothing really. You need a really good thesis statement to let the reader know what is actually going to come in the essay. So it's a good thing to practice. So we've got the body. So we've got paragraphs A and B in this example. So what do we need? Usually the first sentence, but not always. Okay, we're going to have a topic sentence, yeah. And then we're going to give an explanation. And then what would we give in our body paragraph? Yeah, so Han, Ha, Mina. So we give an example. Great. So we can make a concession, and then what can we do? Not conclude. Validate, well, we could counter it. We can counter that. Okay, so in the conclusion, what are we going to do? Something, main points and opinion. Sum up, yeah, restate, summarize. That's exactly right. So we restate or summarize the main points and opinion. Give a final something on the topic. So what could that be? Not quite. Could be a suggestion. Yeah. A comment. Yeah, Claire's got that there. Final comment on the topic. It's really important, guys, that when you write the conclusion, similarly, I mentioned bad examples available on the internet for introductions. There's also some very bad examples on websites for conclusions. For example, just giving one sentence conclusions. I can tell you from an examiner's point of view, if you only got one sentence for your conclusion, you won't score higher than a 5 for coherence, because basically your paragraphing will be inadequate. So really one sentence does not make a paragraph, but there's a lot of information available now on the internet where they're teaching students to use one paragraph in the conclusion. So you want at least 2, I would suggest 2 sentences for your conclusion. So give a final comment on the topic after you've restated the main points. Okay, good. So our introduction, let's have a look. A lot of students find the introduction quite a difficult paragraph to write. So let's have a look. So we've got our question prompt there. So we'll paraphrase the question, and then we'll have a thesis statement and give an opinion. So we'll paraphrase the lead in here, and then we need to pay attention to the voice. So it is something believed that. What could go in there? Strongly, generally, yeah, good. Often, okay. So we'll choose widely. It is often something that. What could go in there? It is often something that. Reporters thought, yeah, known. Argued, okay, good. We could also have suggested, yeah, there we go. Susanna. It is commonly something that. Okay, believed, admitted. Okay, good. So we could have argued. Now you'll notice the voice here is the passive. Why do we use the passive? Why do we use the passive in academic writing? Anyone tell me? Yes, exactly right. It's formal. Yeah, so hallo, yeah, it's formal. So let's start. It's why I believe that. So, can you think of another word we can rephrase this in? Improve. Okay, make better. Benefit, enhance. Okay, well, we'll use some synonyms, obviously. Protecting the environment. I'll just move my chat box up so I can see. So protecting the environment is beyond the power of governments or large companies. Can we rephrase those words? In fact, that should be individuals, yeah. So change individuals. You just tap on that again. So we can change the word form, individual. So now we've got individual citizens. And that, so what about those words? Can you think of another word for companies we could use? Organization, corporations, firms, yeah, some good ones there. And then we can change the word order and governments. And then alone. So let me just move this. Okay. That's it. Make a difference. Can you think of anything for make a difference? Okay. Able to take effective action on this issue. So now we look at the thesis statement. Now I do have my chat box open, but it's kind of getting in the way. So I'm just going to put it to the side so I can actually see what questions are coming in. So let's have a look at the thesis statement. So there's an opinion that I've chosen, okay? So many people acting together can have a big impact. Individual actions can influence governments and corporations. So let's put that, oops, in. Okay. So I strongly disagree with this point of view as I believe that. So we've got a linking expression there. Individual actions can together contribute to positive environment change. And then while, so I've got a sentence connector there, persuading governments and companies to protect the natural world. Now you'll notice with this, with the thesis statement, I'm just going to annotate this just for a second, that you'll notice here that it's very clear to the reader what is going to come in the rest of the essay. So we've got two, you can clearly see two clear body paragraphs and what the topics of those body paragraphs are actually going to be. So the thesis statement is really good there, and it's something you need to practice. It's very clear to the reader, and also it shows a high level of usage of the English language when you can write a good thesis statement. Now remember, not only are you going to have to do this for the IELTS test, but you're also going to have to develop your thesis statements for university, because you'll be doing, those of you who are actually going to university are going to have to do a lot of writing. Right, so body paragraphs. So many people acting together. We've got our opinion again. So we need a clear topic sentence. So first of all, individuals can create positive environmental change by working together as what do you think we could put in there, guys? Team, okay. A group, okay. So there, a community, hello, yeah. So everyone's on similar lines there, so that's good. So we need to explain this. So this is because the effects of many small actions quickly add up, okay? And then we need to give an example. And then we use, for example, you could use any other, for instance, to illustrate a point. If each person in a large city, something, what do you think that could be? If each person, okay, decides, yeah. Any others? Chose, okay, choose, Zhang Chung Yung Chen, okay. So chose to walk. The reduction in the air pollution, so what could we put in the gap there? Okay, so could, yeah, would, excellent, okay, would be huge. And then we'll make a concession and counter. While it is true that one person acting alone cannot make much, so what could we put at the end there? Difference, change, effective change, impact. Okay, very good, guys. Difference. Now, many individuals taking the same action can have a something positive effect. Better, huge, collective, great, yielding, okay, remarkable, better, okay, well, we'll put dramatic positive effect. So, very good, some good suggestions there, guys. Notice the linking words. So we've got, first of all, this is because, for example, while it's true. So it's always good to review transition signals and linking words. This is going to improve your score for coherence. And then the verb forms. So can create, cannot make, can have. So we've got modals. And then we've got a conditional sentence there. So if each person in a large city chose to work, walk, or take a bus. Excellent, very good. And then vocabulary. So positive, environmental, or environment impact. I can't see that because of the chat box, but okay. And then quickly add up, dramatic positive effect. Okay. So Tan Huang Proc, I think, does the example need to be specific related to known events, or does it just need to be general like the example here? It can be general or specific, but remember when you have a topic sentence, all of your ideas have to go back to the controlling idea. So a topic sentence has the main topic and the controlling idea. So I'll just move my chat box. Let me go back. So if you look at the topic sentence here, first of all, individuals can create a positive environmental change by working together as a community. So we have to make sure our ideas are going to go back to that topic sentence. Yeah. So when you write a topic sentence, to get extra ideas or supporting sentences, you can ask yourself how or why. And then we've explained how or why. This is because the effects of many small actions quickly add up. And then we give an example. If each person in a large city chose to walk or take the bus instead of driving for one day. So you can see all of our supporting ideas are going back to the controlling idea in the topic sentence. Okay, so that's a good question to bring up there. Yeah, and probably didn't pronounce your name correctly, but a good question to bring up. Yeah. Right. So I disagree, so let's have a look at that. So we've got again a topic sentence. So we're adding an additional idea here, so we need to use furthermore or in addition. I'll just close this off so you can see what I'm doing. The actions of individuals can also influence governments and corporations due to the fact that people have power as both citizens and consumers. And then we give our example. For instance, they can organize social media campaigns or boycott certain products, which are, what could we put there? Something for the environment. What for the environment? Harmful, dangerous, or we could say bad. Okay. And then we'll make a concession and a counter. While there's no question that governments and large companies must play something in protecting the natural world. I gave you the answer. Yeah, a role in protecting the natural world. Okay, very good. Very good. It is clear that individuals and communities can put pressure on these something to act. So what could we put in there? Companies. Organizations, Eileen, yeah. Okay, we'll go with organizations, that's good. So again, we've got our linking words and transition signal there. Furthermore, for instance, while there's no question that, it's clear that. And then we've got the verb forms, can also, can organize, can put pressure on. So we've got modals, the possibility there. Very good. And then vocabulary, so citizens and consumers. And then we've got social media campaigns. And then boycott certain products. So bad for the environment, play a role in. Okay, so just go back to play a role in there and a few other social media campaigns. So for those of you, what I found through teaching is students often reach a plateau where they can fully understand the question and their coherence is good. So the organization is good, they've expanded on their ideas, but then it's down to vocabulary and grammar, where that's limiting the jump from the 6 to the 7 or possibly 7, 8 or going to the 9. So one thing I often suggest is if you see there play a role in, it's what we call a collocation. So I would be familiar with collocations, words that are often used together. So you can actually get the academic collocation list on the internet. This is a good way for you to increase your vocabulary. Okay. So we get to our conclusion. We're going to restate our opinion, summarize main points. We do not want to introduce any new ideas in our conclusion, because remember, you're summarizing already the main points of your essay and you're giving your final comment. You shouldn't be introducing any new ideas. So always use a transition signal for your conclusion. Otherwise, although it might be clear to the reader that it's your conclusion, however, the examiner has a certain set of descriptors that they're following. So if there's no transition signal for your conclusion, then again, it comes down to paragraphing as incomplete. So again, it would only be a 5 for coherence and cohesion. So always put a transition signal for your conclusion to let the reader know you're finishing. People can protect the environment by something their individual actions. We've got changing, rectifying. Okay. We could say coordinating their individual actions, which will also have a positive what on governments and corporations. Okay, effect, impact, some good things coming through. Yeah. So we can say effect. So I'll give you a final comment on the topic. So in my opinion, everyone has a responsibility to something for the environment. Contribute, work, take care, contribute, protect. Okay, good. Safeguard, preserve. Okay, we can say care for the environment. So we've got 2 sentences. So we've summarized our main points of the essay, which is good. And we've given our final comment on the topic, exactly what we want. So a few tips. So there you can see the essay in all its glory. Yeah. So now don't start writing without a plan. You need to make a plan. So just imagine a plan as a kind of like a roadmap for your essay. If you were taking a car journey, you wouldn't get in it without looking at the map first and just start driving. So when you're writing, you need to have a plan so you know what you're going to put in the essay. So you must have a plan. In the test, you can write on the question booklet and, you know, put your plan on that. Don't count words, so don't get hung up on the word count, and the band descriptors for the examiners have recently changed. What you could do at the end, just count your sentences if you want to do that. So you're likely to be having more than 10 words in a sentence unless you write extremely large. So just make sure you've got 25 lines. So rather than counting individual words, it's going to take a long time to be able to do that. So practice with official IELTS answer paper. That's a good way to do it. And then obviously editing is very important. Once you've finished, you need to edit and check the grammar, check the spelling, you know, go through it and look for any errors and make changes where necessary. It's important that you do that. And then practice with a range of question types and topics. So there's so much information on the internet, yeah? So, you know, have a look at the topics. Obviously, you can list them. You've got environmental topics, you've got social issues, you've got topics on sport, topics on a huge range of issues. One thing also I would say is that IELTS essay topics are always usually about current events. So it's a good idea to read English newspapers, and that is going to give you some ideas for some of the topics, okay? But be familiar with the topics and review vocabulary, how to build up your vocabulary for the topics. Have a look, like I mentioned earlier, the academic collocation list, see what collocations you could have with the environment, environmental damage, yeah, environmental protection. So these are all collocations. These will improve your score. Okay, well, I guess we've got a lot of questions.
Excellent. So yes, thank you very much, Stephen. Before we dive into your many questions that you guys have asked, just like to say a very big thank you to Stephen for presenting and going through this very helpful presentation. So thank you so much, Stephen, for that.
No problem.
Cheers. So guys, we will start discussing your questions. We'll start with your questions in the Q&A. So if you do have questions, please add them in there. While you're writing up some of your questions, I'd just like to do a bit of promotion for some of our premium services. Stephen, if you could click through to the next slide, that has a range of different resources and links that can help our students if you're looking for additional support. So you can see at the top there, there's a link to our speaking and writing evaluation service. This is a paid-for service where you can book time with a speaking or writing examiner. You can send in your writing, or you can go through a full mock IELTS speaking test. You'll get a very detailed report on your performance, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you can do to improve your score. So if that's something you're interested in, you can check out the link to our premium services. We also have our list of upcoming webinars on our website, IELTS Online Tests. You can find all the details there. We are doing formal letters on Thursday, and then next Monday we have a session on speaking part 1. So feel free to check that out. We have also just launched a new YouTube channel, and all the recordings from this webinar and from our previous webinars will be available on the YouTube channel. So you can check that out as well. So hopefully you've got some useful resources there. So Stephen, shall we take a look at some of these questions?
Let's have a look. There's a lot to get through. We'll try and answer as many as possible, guys, but obviously there's a lot. Yeah. So, night.
Excellent. I just say thank you very much, and Dorothy, it's nice to see you again. I remember you from previous webinars, so thank you for the feedback. I'm glad you found it helpful. And yeah, I'll put a link to the YouTube channel in the chat there, Amrit. So we have a question here, Stephen, from Night Furry.
Yeah.
They got in very early. Which is better, using a complex sentence or a simple sentence?
You want to use more complex sentences than simple. That's gonna put you into the top band scores. So there will be some simple sentences, but yeah, there needs to be a range of complex and simple. But the more complex, then obviously that's going to improve your score. Definitely.
Definitely, yeah, I'd agree with that. So we have a question from Mena, who's asking, does writing 3 body paragraphs enhance your score for task response? Or
no, it doesn't. Basically, the examiner is just rating you on how you've responded to the task. One thing I would pay attention to, though, is often the question prompt is telling you how many paragraphs you could put in. So, for example, if it was advantages and disadvantages, you're likely to write 2 body paragraphs. You could add a third, with, let's say, 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage, but ordinarily, most people would just write 1 advantages, the other disadvantages. Then you've got discuss both sides and give an opinion. Now, it tells you clearly you have to discuss both sides, and then you're going to have another paragraph to give your opinion. So be careful with those questions. But in general, it's not really going to improve your score because the examiner's just rating you based on your response to the task, not the number of paragraphs specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have, well, it's more of a statement from Peter Parker. Peter Parker says, hi. Hi there, Peter Parker. Nice
Hi.
to meet you. So welcome in. Very good question from Vibu here. Vibu is asking, can we take a neutral stand?
This is often asked by students where you're partially agreeing, partially disagreeing, because I think a lot of people think it's easier to write an essay like that. However, that's not always the case. You can take a neutral stance, there's no problem with that, but make sure it's clearly expressed, because I found that a lot of students may think that if that is an easier way to write an essay, but in my experience, it isn't always. You have to really clearly explain your stance. So, but you can take a neutral stance. There's nothing wrong with that. No problem.
Yeah, I think at some point we can try and have a webinar looking at how you could partially agree and disagree. Yeah. I think you need to use quite specific language to do it well.
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
We could look at. Yeah. Thank you for that, Vibu. Question from Mena here. Should I mention my 2 ideas in the introduction?
Well, Mina, as you saw there, basically in your thesis statement, you're giving your ideas that are following in the rest of the essay. So there's no reason why you can't do that. It's very clear. It's clear to the reader what's coming, and it's certainly much better than in this essay I will discuss blah 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 blah, I will do and give my final opinion. Yeah, it's very specific. So it's a really good way for you to practice and to improve your writing by having a good thesis. So yeah, you could put 2 ideas in there, there's no problem at all.
Excellent. Dan is asking, what is the band range of the sample being presented?
Well, of course, it's a 9.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I would say it's well developed, it's accurate grammar, there's a range of vocabulary there. The very good coherence and cohesion, it all is well organized. So yeah, I'd probably say it's a 9 for.
Yeah.
Good. Question from 19757867000qq.com who says switch.
Okay.
Thank you for that, QQ. If you'd like to develop that question a bit, then we can try to address it. Thank you. Question here from Manmeet, who's asking, is it required to use a connector when we start the body paragraph?
I would always do that because you're showing a wide range of vocabulary and, good writing skills. So, if you looked at the essay there, we had good cohesive devices there, and when you're starting a new paragraph, yeah, I would use one. Definitely. It's showing that you have a good range of vocabulary. You're showing the examiner you've got good control of the language by doing that.
Yeah.
So, one thing I would say with that, though, is make sure you try to avoid repetition and use the same ones over and over again. So, you know, you can have a look at sentence connectors and transition signals and just see how they're used and try and use a range of them.
Yeah, definitely. If I could add, I think it's a good idea to make sure your connectors match the topic of the paragraph. So if you're agreeing and agreeing, so you're doing two points that are the same, they're both agreeing, your connector for the second paragraph should be a connector of addition, something like furthermore or in addition. Another key point is this to show that it's the same topic. On the other hand, if you're discussing both views and you're saying, on the one hand, here's one view, but on the other hand, here's another view, your connector should be a contrast. So it should be however, or on the other hand, or in contrast. Those are, it's important not only to use a connector, but make sure you're using the correct type of connector.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to make, because especially with on one hand and on the other, students often make mistakes with those. So it's a good point to bring up for sure.
Thanks. Yeah. Question from Fazlin, who is asking, will UK English and US English spelling be counted in the marks? Will you be penalized for using either US or UK English?
Well, Fazlin, it's the British Council, so you would be penalised. No, it doesn't matter. You can use American spelling or British spelling. Both are perfectly fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you think it's worthwhile sticking to one? So if you switch between the two, then it's possible you might lose marks for spelling if you're using some words spelt as British English and some as American English.
Well, I would suggest you stick to one or the other. With regards to rating the actual essay, they wouldn't lose any marks, but I would definitely suggest sticking to one or the other rather than mixing them up.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Peter Parker, you're asking a question. Are you American? Who is that question addressed to? Is it to Stephen or to myself or another participant in the chat? Let us know. So if I can quickly answer a question or ask a question from Indurthi in the chat. They are saying, what is a good way to use a range of grammatical forms? What is a way of writing, more complex grammar? And how can you ensure that you use an adequate range of forms?
Well, I mean, what I would do there is basically make sure you're familiar with sentence connectors and how to use the sentence connectors, and then you're going to basically have a complex sentence. So that is what I would suggest, is to go through, and have a look at how to form a complex sentences, what connectors you can use, and just review those so that when you're writing, you can improve your coherence and do that. Because obviously most people start off, depending on the level and how they're actually instructed, they'll start off with learning simple sentences, and then obviously they're going to learn more complex sentences by adding the connectors in. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, definitely. I think connectors are a great way, using connectors like because for subordinating clauses. Also things like relative clauses, like
relative clauses, yeah.
You could add them in, and the kind of ing, like gerund clause.
Forms, yeah.
To add extra information to a main clause. I think those three ways are quite, that's a really good start if you can use them for sure. Okay. Question from Bhaskar in the Q&A. Is it okay to use the same set of words multiple times? For example, in this essay, we used words like individuals and governments.
It's a good question, because students always bring this up, because what happens is, obviously, you're going to be lose marks if there's a lot of repetition. And a lot of teachers say, you cannot repeat this word, this. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable to repeat vocabulary. You can change the word forms, so that's perfectly okay. Sometimes you're not always going to be able to change that vocabulary, but it's a good question. Repetition can be in the words, but also the actual the structure. Yeah, so be careful with that. But
yeah,
sometimes it's unavoidable. For example, if you were to look at a task one about the water cycle, how are you going to rephrase words like clouds, rain, maybe precipitation? And it's the same if you've got some other task two topics. You're just going to have to change the word forms, and rephrase where necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. And I'd say that sometimes you see students who try a bit too hard to avoid repeating themselves. So they end up choosing a word which isn't really accurate or really isn't appropriate for an academic essay. So I would suggest, if you're not sure about how accurate the word you're using is, maybe in the exam, don't use it. Stick with the same word, or a word that is accurate. I would say it's better to be accurate and use clear vocabulary than use completely inappropriate vocabulary. So it's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think what happens is students will look up synonyms for all these words to try and show a range. And exactly what you said, often the word's not appropriate. Sometimes it's archaic, so you wouldn't actually see that word being used in English anymore. I remember receiving an essay like that, and even I had to use a dictionary. So, change the word forms, and if you're not sure, then don't use the word, basically. I think Jamie's spot on.
Definitely. Question from Baumik here. Can you suggest us some starting phrases for the introduction, the body part, and the conclusion? Baumik, perhaps if we go back through to the model essay, I think it's like 2 slides before, Stephen, you can see some of the phrases here. Things like "it's widely believed that" is a nice introductory. Yeah,
that's it.
There you go. Yeah, if you look through this model answer, Baumik, you'll be able to find some standard phrases. If they're also highlighted in as linking expressions as well, so you can check that out in the recording. Let's see. We have a question from Indurthi here. How do we generate ideas in a logical way?
Well, it's a good question. And again, it takes practice. I mean, the thing is, if you're not a native speaker, then the best thing you can do is get a good native speaking teacher, because they'll help you with critical thinking and brainstorming, and then putting your essays together. Because in some countries, for example, I spent 15 years in China. The way of writing in China is very different to the way of writing in English. And similarly, I had a student from Bangladesh this morning, and she was saying that the style of writing in English is completely different than what it is in Bangladesh. So it's a matter of actually, you need a teacher to really help you improve with your writing. If you're looking for high band scores, and they can help you with your brainstorming and then organizing your ideas in a logical fashion, basically.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think brainstorming is a great technique for this. On a related note, Jambota has a question. What if I don't have any ideas connected to the topic?
Well, I have had it on an exam paper. I am really sorry, but I do not have any ideas on this topic. You know, it's better to write something than nothing. Yeah. The thing is, I mean, there's no reason really why you can't have an opinion on a topic, really, because you can review some of the past questions, you can read newspapers, you can go to a class, or you can brainstorm with classmates and choose a topic, or, you know, you always should be able to come up with an opinion. But I mean, if you get stuck in the test, well, you're going to have to write something better than nothing. I mean, you know, it's a difficult one to answer. And I remember in one of my certifications, I got this essay and it was horrendous. I don't mean the essay was horrendous, but I had to give it a 5 for task achievement and a 5 for coherence and 9 for grammar and 9 for letters. So I was terrified because they were completely off topic. So you've got to put something down.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And yes, Cezanne, you're right. We did answer this question a couple of times, but Peter Parker, just very quickly, could we agree and disagree at the same time in writing task 2? Short answer, yes, you can, but it's more difficult to do that. And it's something we might look at in a future webinar. Nick, thanks for your question. Does stammering influence the speaking test?
Yes, I saw that, and that's a very good question. If anyone were to have a speech impediment, it is very important to go and tell the British Council, and you will do the test separately. They will make provision for you if it was a specific speech impediment. So, but obviously, if it's stammering through nerves, then it will have an effect on your fluency, of course. But if it's someone that has a specific speech impediment, then they need to inform the British Council, and then provision will be made for the person to take the test, and the examiner will be aware of what the impediment is.
Yeah, definitely make them aware, and then they'll be able to help you with that. Okay, so excellent, guys. We've got a couple of minutes left, which means we can get through a few more of your questions. Just to let you know, we do have more webinars coming up. I'm putting the link to that in the chat just now, so you can check them out and you can see the different webinars we have coming up in the future. We have one on task 1 next week, also a speaking one as well. Mofai Iseo, thanks for the suggestion for listening. It's something we'll look at. It's a bit more difficult to do listening in this format, but we'll try to do it, okay? So guys, a quick question from Sarah in the chat. Where can we find teachers to correct our writings that would evaluate us in the same way an examiner would do? Sarah, that is something we can help you with. We have services on our website where you can book time with a speaking examiner. You can send in your writing, or you can do a full mock test for speaking. And both Stephen, myself, we have a team of qualified examiners here who can help give you feedback on your performance. So I've put the link to the chat, put the link to that in the chat there. Hopefully it can be a really good way to improve your score, particularly if you're planning to take the test quite soon and you just need some feedback on common errors that you're making. So that's always an option if you're interested in it. So guys, I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. So I'm sorry that we haven't gotten through all your questions. There were a lot of questions today, so thank you for your interest. We will be having more sessions next week. And in fact, on Thursday this week, we have a session on general training. So hopefully you can join us for one of those sessions soon. I'd like to say a big thank you to Stephen for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for your nice feedback. We'll hopefully see you again soon in another webinar. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Moaz. Very nice. Cool. So thanks again, Stephen. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Cheers. Goodbye, everyone. Bye for now. Bye. Bye.